Mike, thank you for joining us in Max Your Mind podcast. I appreciate you coming here and making time in your busy schedule.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, bro.
Grew up watching your films. I follow you on social media, so I know your schedule is hectic, and just wanted to pick your mind and find out a little bit about your trials and tribulations, how you overcame them, and how you're still going strong, maybe even stronger.
Yeah, man. Part of the reason I'm here is because of guys like you give me a lot of inspiration on IG.
Mm-hmm. Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, well, it's inspirational, and it just makes you know. It just makes you say, well, look, you gotta put in the time,
right?
And you see people that put in the time and that have been doing it over and over and over again, and you realize you just gotta stay consistent.
Consistency there in all aspects of life, right?
That's right. That's right.
How'd you get a name like Michael Beach?
That's just from my dad. The beach. I don't know which one of them named me Michael, but the beach just came natural. I think my family's Cape Verdean, which is a small group of islands off the west coast of Africa, right off Senegal. And
you been?
Yeah, I've been a couple of times. Beautiful place. It's they're trying to. They don't have a lot of tourism there because a lot of people don't know about it. But they have some beautiful, beautiful beaches, and it's I think my father's father was from Jamaica.
Okay.
I wasn't raised with my dad, so I don't know him and his family and all that. But I know his mother and my two grandparents from my mother's side are all Cape Verdean. So,
nice.
Yeah, so beach, I don't know.
Beautiful people. So I know you're just coming from Canada, right?
Yes.
Just got back from Canada.
Yes, I have to go back too.
When you going back?
I go back, well, the schedule's not set yet, but sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Same project?
Same project, yeah.
How many more days you got before you guys wrap?
Another 3 months, something like that.
Long one.
Yeah.
So is this a TV show, film?
It's a series for Paramount Plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's Apple Plus, I believe, or Disney Plus?
There's Disney Plus, there's Apple TV Plus, or whatever they call it, Netflix, there's just tons of them.
How are you able to manage your time for so many different projects at once?
Well, you just have to go for the things that you could go for and accept what you can accept, and then hopefully, a lot of times what my agent and I have going on is that we have line producers from different projects talking to each other, because they're the ones that really do the schedule.
Gotcha.
Along with so many other things. And, if they can work it out, if they're willing to, if somebody wants me in a project and I'm like, well, I'm doing this right now, but you might be able to work it out,
right.
Can you talk to this line producer? Then we just leave it in their hands. And it's much easier than calling me, because all I'm going to do is call a second AD or a line producer or whatever.
Correct.
And I'm like, just let the two people that make the decisions speak to each other. Makes it a lot easier.
You're like a warrior. When they need you, they just call you up. You're like, let me see my schedule, and you show up.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's not all of the projects. I mean, I still audition for some things, but in general, I get a lot of offers that, we're able to meet projects. So sometimes I'm doing 3 or 4 jobs at once. And we're just. It's been hard because of COVID, and especially up in Canada, I had to quarantine for 14 days.
Before shooting?
Before shooting. So you fly up, you go directly to wherever you're going to stay after you do all your paperwork and all that stuff. And then, just to enter the country. And when I first went, we had to get exception, like we were called something exception, because you can't just
Paperwork.
Yeah, you couldn't just go into Canada just to visit,
Huh.
right, during
Still?
COVID. It's
Oh,
going to
so it's-
change, I think, next month. But so anyway, I think they call it special exemption or something. Anyway, yeah, so my first little piece of work was one scene, right, that ended up taking 5 hours to film. So I had to quarantine for 14 days to go and do 5 hours of work.
This last trip.
Right, and then the next day I left.
You didn't have to. Okay, so did you have to quarantine when you got back here? Or that's just for
No, didn't have to quarantine back here. And then when I go back, there's no quarantining for me because I took the jab. I got one of the what are they called? The
Just
COVID.
the Pfizer stuff.
Yeah. I got the Jensen.
Is
or
that
Johnson.
required for work?
No, it's not required, but I thought, I'll be honest with you, I'm on the fence about it. I don't really give a shit. I don't think I'm going to catch anything that's going to cripple me. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but I doubt if that would ever happen, right? As far as this is concerned. But I knew that coming down the pike, there were going to be people that required things. If you've gotten the I'm at a loss for the word, but
Symptoms or the jab?
No, if you've gotten the jab, right, that you would be exempt from things. I just knew that. Right. And so I was like, well, I'm on the fence about it. I don't think I'm going to get hurt without it. I don't think I'm going to get hurt with it. So I took it so that when something like this came up, I'd be good. Now, if I didn't take it, I'd have to quarantine for another 14 days when I get up to Canada again. But because I took it, I don't have to quarantine at all. And I think that's going to be something that our union and other countries are going to be struggling with over the next, at least for the rest of this year.
Trying to make a decision.
Right. So my thinking was, let me take a little bit of that off of my plate by getting the vaccine.
Do you still have to wear a mask on set or during production?
Do. Yeah, it's I don't know, bro. It's like we wear masks to go from our trailer to the set, and then when we get to the set, we take our masks off. And everybody, all the actors have their masks off. The directors and everybody else still has theirs on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting time.
Yeah.
So, like, last year, 2020, did work slow down much for you?
Oh, yeah. Work stopped in Hollywood February, March 13. It literally stopped. Right. And they weren't shooting, and any union stuff could not shoot. And then it started up again in August, which actually, so from March to August of 2020, that has actually been the longest period I've ever not been working in the 35 years I've been doing this professionally. And then in August, that's when we first started up. The first network show to go back to production was a show called SWAT on CBS, which I'm on, and so, I started working in August. And then I do a show called The Rookie, and that started in September, and I was on that, and then a few other things, and all the all the protocols were crazy, and I was doing an Apple Plus TV show too, and
did you guys manage?
Yeah, we managed. We got through, and we tested a lot. I've tested probably almost 300 times. I've been tested. And
you've been healthy. You stayed
healthy. I've never had a positive test. And although they do have false positives, but I never got one. And some people did. and I just want to work. I want to keep going. I like to be active. I like to stay busy.
How was it between March and August not working? How'd that influence you?
It was tough. It was tough because, I was...
You had more family time though, right?
Yeah, the good thing is I was not alone. If I lived alone, I would go nuts, bro. It would make me, it would go nuts.
You enjoy being active.
Yeah, and I just, I've been a family man my entire life, so it was nice to have my wife and my kids. But even then, we got,
Oh, you gotta have your space too.
Yeah, so it got a little, there were a couple of weeks where I think I was depressed a little bit just because I'm just not used to not doing anything. And then, of course, I had already had a gym in my garage, but I didn't have a cage. So there
you wanted more.
Yeah, I wanted more because I could only do like a lot of hit stuff. I had my slam balls and my kettlebells and some dumbbells, and I had my boxes so I could jump and stuff like that. But the cage, once I got that, it like opened up all the shit that I could do that I couldn't do before. And it was.
How you enjoying home workouts these days?
I like them. I tell you, it's been
Acquired a taste.
It's been the saving grace of this whole COVID thing in terms of my mental state. Forget about physical state. Mentally, it woke me up. It kind of it grabbed me. Yeah, it grabbed me out of this depression. Not like a deep depression, but a little. I'm a positive, happy dude. Right, and I love to smile. I'm rarely in a negative mood, but that this was bringing me there. Right. And then when I started in my gym and got my cage, it lifted all of that shit.
As a party at home then.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, how long you been into fitness? Because ever since I've watched your project, you always looked fit.
Yeah, pretty much most of my life. I mean, I'm unlike you and cats like you, I'm less consistent in terms of the quality of my fitness. Sometimes if I'm on a big job sometimes and it gets really tough to work out, I still try to go, but eventually I slide back,
right.
And I lose a month,
right.
And then it can turn into 3 months, and I'm eating, and I'm not burning any extra calories, and so I can put on a little weight. But in general, especially in the last 10 years, I've only kept that at bay mostly, because I like the fact that at my age I can still be, and with the problems I have, I can still be active and still look, like somebody not my age.
Let me tell you, you're doing a great job. You look amazing.
Oh, thank you, bro.
I mean, some people don't look like themselves when you see them in person.
Right.
But you know.
Right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, man. Yeah.
You just left the gym?
No, I haven't worked out in the last couple of days. I'm gonna work out later today.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I have my wrist is really bad, so I don't have any mobility.
You wear straps?
I do wear straps, but they don't. I've seen a doctor. I've seen a few doctors, but this last doctor I saw was the only one that said he can do something. The other doctors were saying, "Oh, we could do this, we could do that," but I can't guarantee that it's going to be better.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, why would I? Why would I pay you money for no guarantee of, or at least, nothing is guaranteed, but at least you feel positive about the quality of the outcome.
Right. Is that from going heavy or?
Nah, I fractured my wrist and my elbow over 40 years ago, when I was a teenager. And it just never, it never healed right. Back then we didn't have insurance. And so once we got it initially taken care of, there was no follow-up and none of that stuff. So I have a bone that's grown badly, and then I have, I have arthritis, and so there's a kind of a combination of things.
So did that pain continue throughout the years, or did it come and go?
Well, when I was younger, it wasn't a big thing, but as in the last 20 years, and now it's become pretty big.
So you gotta be more careful with it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things I can't do. Like I can't do burpees. It's very hard when I do pushing moves. I can't do push-ups.
Stress on that.
Right, but when I'm doing a pushing move, like on a bench or something, it can easily give.
Okay.
So
what about strengthening exercises?
Yeah, I've done that. I've got a bucket of rice. Throw my hand in there and I move my hand around.
That help at all?
I've got a pad that I'm squeezing and turning, and it helps a little bit. But this is a problem that is not, it's structural. Okay. You know what I mean? It's bone, and part of it is my bone is. At a certain point, my bone is grinding against each other. Okay. And it actually stops my movement.
So you're gonna.
So he needs to go in there and said he's going to shave some of the bone and So
gotcha.
The problem is I need 6 to 8 weeks for recovery, and that means in a cast that's going to have to be changed because. The size of my arm is going to change, and they need to take x-rays and see about my mobility in between. Mm-hmm. So it's like every week I have to go back in, and that messes up my work schedule.
Right.
So it's about finding when I can.
The right time and place for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So like with all those years of acting, how does that influence mental health? Like how have you managed mental health with all those years of acting? Because it's a lot of mental stress and work.
Well, for me, I find it the opposite because I love it. You know what I mean? I'm doing something I love. Mm-hmm. So, and in terms of the mental stress comes from the business side of it, not from actually doing the acting, so not from the job. Yeah, it's from getting the job. It's from all the, the political crap that's going on. Not political in terms of politics, but the politics of Hollywood, of business. Mm-hmm. That's the stuff that really destroys people, because it's so, haphazard. Mm-hmm. And it's, but in terms of that, I've always had my wife and kids. Mm. So when when I leave that stuff, like I'm not really of Hollywood, you know what I mean? I leave that stuff. I have too much shit to do at home. I see. So I don't have to stress about it because I don't have the time. You know what I mean? I don't go home and I'm by myself and I'm like, oh, he said this or she said that and maybe I should do this and maybe. As soon as I get home, as soon as I open the door, there's shit that's happening that I got to deal with. Yeah. And so it's always been a plus for me. I mean, it's tougher because I have so many mouths to feed. As an actor, that's, tough. Just feeding yourself is tough enough, but I have a lot of kids. Mm-hmm. So it's tougher in that way, but it also gives me something much more important to focus on in terms of my real life. Exactly, purpose, exactly.
So how do you manage, because like you're busy with acting, with work projects, busy with the family, how do you effectively manage?
Well, the good thing is, most people have 9-to-5 jobs, so they know, I assume most people do, but they have to every day for the year, they're out the house at this particular time and they come back at that particular time. My schedule is, there's a lot of times when I'm just at home. Mm-hmm. So I can have, and I work a lot, but I can have 3 weeks where I'm not working, or I'm working on a show and I work 1 or 2 days in the 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And so the rest of that time, I'm taking my kids to school, I'm taking them to swim class. I'm picking them up from gymnastics, all of that stuff. So I have time to do that. Even when I'm working in LA, if I'm out of town, it's a lot. Obviously, a lot of that all of it falls on my wife. But I would say I have more time with my family than somebody that works a 9 to 5, because you come home at 5 or 6 or whatever time you come home. It's really time for dinner. Rest. And then it's, now it's time to get ready for bed and all that stuff. But I have 24 hours, all the hours that kids are home and being picked up. And that's a huge part of being a parent is being a taxi cab, is dropping the kids off and picking them up, and whatever discussions you have in the car about what was going on that day, and sometimes we don't say a damn thing,
right.
but in general,
Crazy.
That's a lot of time, that you spend picking up and dropping off.
Have you traveled anywhere international than Canada recently for work?
Sure. Recently, no, because of the pandemic.
Right.
My trip to Canada is the first one out of the country. But yeah, I've worked a lot of places.
A couple of different places.
Yeah, different continents, different countries.
How's your fitness lifestyle helping you with like mental health and like dealing with what you have to deal with as far as work schedules, traveling? Because I know you went to Canada, you didn't have access to a gym, so you had your own equipment.
Well, I brought, I brought some bands and some push-up bars, because, like I said, I can't do push-ups flat on my hands, so I have to do them by the bars. And it was okay, but I got to tell you, for me, because I know a lot of people live by bands and stuff, for me, I can't just work on bands. I need the variety, and I need free weight.
I think once you've used weights.
Yeah. Well, I know a couple of dudes that are in beautiful shape, and they used to use weights, and they swear by bands, and I like bands, but I can't do just bands. So 14 days of being inside, this apartment, and getting my bands, and trying to work my back and work my shoulders and all of that stuff with bands, and my legs. That was tough. I basically just did a bunch of air squats, like a ton of them, and I was doing lunges and stuff. But
so you trained like a bodybuilder.
Pretty much, I guess. That's how I started in the 70s. Okay. Same old. I did the basic stuff compound that I was seeing on the magazines. Yeah, the compound moves and that. Yeah, so that's kind of how I mostly work out. But over the years, I do like HIIT cardio and stuff like that. I don't really run on treadmills and stuff like that. I know it can help. It just depends on what you're trying to do with your body.
You do any running at all?
I used to, but no, not so much anymore.
Cardio for you is HIIT.
It's HIIT pretty much. Yeah. I started about a couple of weeks ago when the gym started. I was shooting in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, and it's totally open. Okay. So you can go to the gyms, and you don't have to wear a mask and stuff. So I had this gym right next to me, and so I started doing some
playing that out.
Yeah, well, no, I did ask. I was like, look, I need to have a kitchen, because I need to cook my own shit, and I need a gym nearby. So they found me this place, and so I started doing sprints on the treadmill, which to me is still kind of that's HIIT for me.
Right. In and out.
Yeah. So I hit it for. I do it for 20, 25 minutes. Where I'm doing 20 seconds. At a high level, and then I rest for 20 seconds, jump right back on, try to get some.
What's the fitness goal? You wanting to maintain right now, or?
Yeah, right now I'm just I'm trying to, I just want to stay. I have young kids now too, so I'm just trying to stay
run around.
healthy. Yeah, run around, be able to, because I have 8 children. So my oldest is about to turn 35, and my youngest is 4. And and actually one of my daughters just got engaged yesterday.
Congratulations.
So they were over the house. It was really exciting.
That is nice.
So I'm trying to be as actively available as I was for my older children, for my younger children. And that's going to be, obviously, I'm going to be in my 60s and 70s when my younger children are, playing high school, whatever they're going to be doing. Who knows?
Are they trying to keep up with you physically right now, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, no, I'm
a little bit of both.
I can still go with some, So I got my 15-year-old now. He comes out in the garage with me every once in a while, and he's trying to learn to do stuff. We adopted him, so he's got a completely different physical structure than I am. He's tall and he's lanky. So
feeling nice.
Yeah. So we're trying to, just every 2-3 times a week he comes out there with me, and we do a little something.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about all these projects. You've worked on so many projects. What are some of the projects that were like that hit home for you? That was like, monumental.
I don't know. I try not to, like, people always go, oh, well, what discovered you, or what project, made you a star or anything like that. And of course, I don't think I'm a star. I'm clearly not a star because everybody doesn't know me. But which is fine. That's not something I ever sought after, and I still don't. I love the idea of being a working actor, and knowing that.
The difference?
Yeah, well, the difference is that I still have to work for a lot of my jobs, right? And of course, some of my reputation makes it easier, but that reputation was earned. You know what I mean? Nobody gave it to me. And I just love the idea that, that I'm still sought after, I'm about to turn 58 years old, and
Look amazing.
Well, thank you. But I always thought as you get older, because this is what history tells us. As you get older, you become less viable because it's a young person's movies and TV and stuff. That's mostly young people. Of course, everybody has to have a father, or there has to be a captain on a TV show or whatever. But those roles mean that there's less out there.
I see.
Right? And all the people that are getting older are fighting for that. But we have the same amount of people fighting for less material.
I see.
So I always thought, will I be working in my 50s? Will I be as sought after, if that's the word, as I was, in my 30s? And I found that so far, yeah, I'm doing all right. You're
doing very good for yourself. And so, like, are you also interested in being behind the camera?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I tried it. I've produced and directed a couple of short things, and I have so many friends who are actors who are now producers or directors, and they love it, and I'm very happy for them. My best friend is a big, a really good director, and he's producing a lot of TV now. But it's just not something I really care to do. And I know if I had jumped in it, and could still jump in it, I guess, I'd have more avenues of money coming in. But I really, let me put this the right way. I'm not a big chaser of money. You know what I mean? Obviously I like it, and it helps. It helps, and I have to pay my mortgage and my bills and raise my kids. But I'm not like, oh, I need to and I would like to make more money. There's no question about it. But it's not the thing that drives me.
It's not the main driving force.
No.
I think that's important, or else you could be bought like all of you.
Yeah. And I mean, look, sometimes I need this or I need that, and I make decisions on jobs based on what's going on in my life. There's not a outside of my decision never to play a slave.
That's a choice you've made?
That's a choice I've made. And I just don't want to do it. I'm just,
Can you speak on that? Like, what?
Nah, I just think we have, and I don't have anything against it for other people to make their decisions and their choices, but I'm just, it's not something I'm interested in doing. Like I'm never gonna smoke.
Because you don't smoke?
I don't smoke. Right. I can't smoke. I did it. The first movie I ever did was a film called Streets of Gold with Wesley Snipes. Okay. So Wesley and I are best friends, and he's trying to get out of the hood by boxing. He's starting boxing, and I'm kind of like a drug dealer, a friend of his, and I've got plans on selling this and selling that and getting out. And right. So the first scene I've ever shot on film professionally was me smoking. And this was in 80. First film. This was in 85 or 86. I can't remember what year exactly. And they didn't have the kind of cigarettes they have now. You can get all kind of, herbal cigarettes that don't have any nicotine and aren't, whatever. Back then, they weren't. I mean, if they were available, they weren't readily available, so they didn't have them on the set.
Deal.
Yeah, we had to get some Camel Lights, and I was smoking them, and I had no idea how to inhale, and I
still don't know how to do
yeah, and I was frightened of it. So it looks, if you ever see it, it's so stupid because I'm smoking, but I'm not inhaling. So when I smoke and then I speak, the smoke just goes, there's no stream, so it's just going around my face. It looks so stupid. And we had to do so many takes, and this was, I wasn't aware of. We had to do so many takes of the master, and then the 2 shots, and then the stuff on Wes, and then the stuff on me. And that night I was just sick as a dog.
Even though you didn't inhale?
Even though I didn't inhale. And that was the first time I'd ever had a cigarette to my mouth. And that was the last time I've ever had a cigarette to my mouth. And it's just like, and there have been times in movies where somebody says, hey, this guy, I said, no, they're not, this guy doesn't smoke, no.
So you passed up on a role?
Well, no, I mean, they're not gonna not hire me if I'm not smoking. So I just wouldn't, I'm just saying, nah. This guy doesn't smoke.
I see.
And I've never played like a drug. Well, I have played a drug, but he didn't. Nobody questioned whether I smoked or not. But so no, it's just a choice. I just don't do it.
So then, actors, some of them have to learn how to smoke for certain scenes. Listen,
there are a lot of actors who are willing to do all kind of stuff, and I respect that. I admire that. It's just I'm not one of them. I don't. I'm a craftsman. I don't think of myself as an artist. I don't think of myself as.
What's the difference?
I don't know. I think, to me, acting is it's a craft that anybody can learn, right? It doesn't mean that I think we definitely have natural affinities for it. Like some people are just naturally born to act or naturally born to be a bad motherfucker in the gym, right? Or whatever. That. Right, absolutely. Right. Or whatever it is, And I do believe that there are actors who are just naturally gifted actors. But in general, I'm not sure what percentage it is, but I don't think it's big of people that are just, naturally amazingly gifted. And, I found over the years, being a student, being a teacher, that if you have somebody who who is okay at it, but are really interested in learning, they can do it. Yeah, and especially if you watch a lot of TV or films, and you see people that have come from different jobs, different careers, and now they're actors and there's huge successes. I mean, and there's tons of those people, and that and not to say that they don't have a natural affinity for it because they did something else previously. But I think it's one of the things that shows you that actors, that it is a craft, that you can learn it, that you can. Like, I'll never be a mathematician, but if you show me how to break down numbers and do this and that, I could probably do it, up to a certain point. And I think that's the same way with, with acting. It's not, it's not brain surgery. But it's also, it is a craft, and it is something that you have to, spend time on, and you have to develop, and the more you do it, the better you can become. Mm-hmm. But if you choose not to do it, and you got to a certain point, if you have, in Hollywood, if you have the right look and you have the right, if you have charisma, charisma is not talent. That's two different things. But if you have charisma, and you work at it, shoot, you could become a major movie star. It happens all the time.
On camera or off camera?
Both. Yeah. I mean, and that's a good point, because sometimes when the camera is on somebody, they just freeze. They don't know how to, yeah. So I think if you have that ability to do it in front of the camera, then you can go far in this business.
How'd you get into the work, like acting in general?
I started acting in high school. I'm from an inner city in Boston, a place called Roxbury, and I ended up, because of a sister who was a teacher, a nun. When I say sister, a woman named Sister Caroline.
It's a Catholic school?
It's a Catholic school, yeah, inside Roxbury, a little teeny Catholic school. My mother was very smart. I grew up during busing, and so she was trying to keep us away from being bussed.
What's that?
Busing was happening in the early 70s, where they were moving students around from different schools. So they were trying to make it more fair, more equitable.
I see.
Right, so they were having,
busing.
Poor kids, usually black kids from inner cities, busing them to the better white schools, and in some cases taking some of the white kids, and but mainly it was bringing the kids from the inner cities to these better schools. But it just became a nightmare, especially in Boston. Boston is really I think, the epicenter of where it was happening. Mm-hmm. And it may only have been in the Massachusetts, I'm not exactly sure, but it was a kind of a clusterfuck. Mm. So my mother looked for these little, schools where, you didn't have to pay money, because we didn't have any money, but that, you could get an alternative education. So she sent me to this place called St. Francis de Sales, which doesn't exist anymore. But this sister there, this nun, who was one of our teachers, knew of this school in the suburbs of Massachusetts that was pretty much an all-white school. And they were trying to integrate as well. They were trying to bring in minority students to help their student body grow, and it was a great experience for me. Anyway, I got in.
This is high school, middle school?
This is high school, yeah. So I started there in 9th grade, and it was a great experience for me, and it opened my eyes to the possibilities, and even to the idea of going to college. There weren't a lot of people going to college from where I came from Roxbury, and it just, and I went there because I was playing football. So I played.
You were always an athlete.
Yeah, I was. I'm not. I don't profess to be an athlete now, but that's what got me into that school, and that's what got me a scholarship. And maybe about 2 years later, I got hurt playing a sport called lacrosse, very badly. And I spent about a year trying to rehab and figure out what else I could do in other sports. I was wrestling. I was doing everything I could, but to stay active and to keep my place at the school, because I thought, oh, they're gonna get rid of me because the reason that they brought me here, I can no longer do. Yeah, and it turned out they I just started becoming more and more involved in the school.
Different programs,
and then and because of that, somebody said you should audition for this play, and because in the morning we gathered for morning assemblies, the whole school, and every once in a while people would have to give announcements about what's coming up this week, or what is happening with this program or that program. And so somebody asked me to do one at some point, and I did one, and then everybody started asking me, oh, will you announce this? Because they were afraid to get up on stage, and because of that, somebody asked me to audition for a play. And at first thing I was like, nah, that's not my thing. I'm an athlete, whatever. And they kept at me, and I auditioned, and that was it, man. I fell in love with it.
So you were comfortable in front of a crowd, in front of the camera?
Yeah. I felt energized by it. I got my school was about 500 people, I guess, 500 students. So whenever you were getting up for assembly announcements, it was the 500 students plus all the teachers that were standing around the students who were seated. And yeah, I just started doing it more and more and more, and I dug it.
Do you have a theater background?
Yeah, I trained. I did theater there, and then I auditioned for a couple of theater schools. I was looking at other schools to play sports, but that was my hope earlier on, but it didn't look like that was going to really happen. So another teacher said you should audition for theater schools, and I was like, well, what's a theater school? And he said, well, that's where they really just focus on, on acting. Okay. So I did. I auditioned for a few, and I got into them all, and the one I ended up going to was Juilliard in New York, which I had no idea what it was, what
until
reputation it had. Not until, I think after when people started telling me, oh, do you know what you just did? Do you know, blah, blah, blah. And then I kind of realized that it was, a pretty prestigious place for acting. Well, it's funny. After I graduated and I came out and I started auditioning, some of the casting people were like, "Well, listen, this is not Juilliard. We don't do that big, blah blah blah," because it was all theater. I did a lot of Shakespeare and Ibsen and Gorky and Chekhov, all these classic playwrights from the past, and they were like, "No, we do things. This is real and minimal and this and that, and so we don't need you pontificating." And this is before I had done anything. I was like, okay, lady, let me show you what I can do, and then you can criticize me. But I kind of fell in. I took to the camera real fast. Yeah, real fast.
What do you love most about acting? Since you got started till now.
I don't know. I think I love the camaraderie more than anything. I love meeting new people and creating relationships, and I think in terms of acting, I like trying to figure things out. I like trying to figure out what this person is doing and why, and what makes it different from something I would do. I almost never think about what I would do because I take myself out of it as much as possible. Obviously, everything's infused through how I see stuff, but I don't like to judge my characters, like say, oh, this guy's a good guy or this guy's a bad guy. I think that's just doing it a disservice. So I just try to find out what this person wants and what are the things stopping them from getting it, and what are the decisions that they're making to overcome these obstacles, these things that are stopping them. And I think those actions, those are called actions, basically. Those are the things that that give a character its uniqueness, you know, the way in which they go about doing something, you know, because we all can want something, and we all have these obstacles, but how you go about getting it and how I go about getting it is very different, you know. So I love exploring those questions and trying to figure that stuff out, you know.
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
Yeah, it is. It is fun. I mean, you know, my friend and I used to say that we're detectives. You know, we just keep asking questions, and trying to, not that you always come up with the right answer or one answer, or, you know, but if you're not asking these questions, then, you know, you're not leading anywhere, you know, because acting is about being specific. You know, like the specifics are what makes one character different from another. And so deciding what actions you take and how far you'll go, that's kind of the delineator between characters.
It looks like you've mastered that.
Well, it's fun, and I'm still trying to get better and better. Yeah.
And so like entertainment is like a vehicle with messages. You know, film highly influences people, the community. From your perception, how does film influence the Black community?
I don't know. I'm not really into my role in terms of influencing. You know, I mean, which I have nothing against. It's just that I never became an actor to try to, you know, change minds or be involved in how people think, or, you know, and I know obviously Hollywood is very influential. And I know like a lot of actors are activists, which I have no problem with. I am not. I am not an activist. And I don't feel responsible for the Black community or any community. I'm responsible for my family and for the people that know me. But at the same time, I think, you know, I try to be a positive person for anybody who might be watching me. But I'm not trying to do it for them. That's how I feel I should lead my life. You know, I should be a positive person. And the truth is, if I can help somebody, I'm happy to do it. But it's not something that I am supposed to do because I'm an actor. You know what I mean? That had nothing to do with me being an actor or falling in love with acting. And now I have a lot of friends who are activists and who love it, and it means a lot to them, and I have a lot of respect for them and for how they see things and what they're accomplishing. It's just not something I ever spent much time on in terms of being responsible for, you know. And that's the other thing. I've been raising kids since I was in my mid-20s. So I've always had so much more to do outside of acting than I did in acting, you know. And of course, as a teacher, I've been a teacher, acting teacher. It's been a while now, but I taught for 20 years or so.
Wow.
Just in between jobs, not in between jobs, but even during jobs. Not for I never made any money on it. It was just because it's something I wanted to do. You know, I learned a lot, and I learned a lot in class and on sets, and I wanted to share that with anybody that was trying to be an actor as well. And I think one of the good things about being an acting coach or teacher, or whatever you want to call it, while you're an actual working actor, is that you have more to offer. You know, it's not like I acted 20 years ago, or I was an actor in college, and now I've been, you know, doing something else for 20, 30 years. I mean, this is how I make my living. This is how I've always made my living. So in terms of me talking about acting, I can do it from a you know, a working actor's perspective. You know, so what I'm talking about is not just ethereal. I have to put it into practice every day when I go to work. So it was helpful for me, and I think helpful for my students, because I was still an active member of their community.
Okay, so your children watched some of your films, right?
Not that often.
Why is that?
Because I never watch my stuff, and I think my kids know I'm an actor, but they don't.
They're busy,
you know,
spending time with dad.
Yeah.
Dad
Now
stuff.
sometimes when I'm out and people come up to me, you know, they're like, you know, then they kind of know and stuff, or you know, if I do a film, because most of my films over the years have been dramas, you know, and they're not really made for kids. But something like every once in a while you do something like when I did Aquaman, you know, where my younger kids, you know, they watch superhero movies. Yeah, so they're like, oh, yeah, you know, so obviously they see me doing that, you know. So something like that they're obviously interested in, but they don't want to watch dramas about, you know, what they would consider an old person doing, you know, this or that. And so they're not really that, you know, into the whole idea. And that's fine with me, because I'll be honest, and I'm not being, you know, trite or anything, but I'm not really into it that much in terms of, you know, what it means. You know, I love it, but it is a part of my life, you know, and it's a big part of my life, clearly, but it's not the biggest part of my life. The biggest part of my life is my life with my wife, my relationship with my wife and my kids, and my daddy family duties. That's the biggest part of my life. Okay. And being an actor and making the money I make obviously makes that much easier for me to achieve, you know, the things I want to achieve at home.
So it sounds like the main focus is the craft when it comes to acting.
Yeah.
And so, like, do you have a preference on what type of project you'd like to be a part of in the future, or?
No, I just like to work, and I mean, the one thing that I've loved, that I've found, is that you never know what's around the corner. You know what I mean? And so you never know who you're going to be working with. You never know what kind of character, what kind of project, you know.
You're flexible.
And I love that idea that I don't know, you know, what in the next, I know the next 2 months in terms of what I'll be doing, and I have a couple of projects I'm working on, but I have no idea in that 2 months what else is going to come up that I have to run to after
Gotcha.
I'm finished with what I'm working on now.
Makes sense. And so, any recent projects you suggest that we check out?
Well, it's funny. It's weird because the recent projects you're doing, like what I'm working on now, won't be out until next year.
Right.
You know, so no, I don't. But I'm not really one to talk about what jobs I like. Even if you look at my Instagram, I don't have a lot of. Every once in a while,
family and fitness.
Yeah, mostly family and fitness, and sometimes, look, I love what I do, but it's just not, you know, it's
you
not
have
something.
To live life.
Yeah, it's not something I I mean, I do love it. I guess it's a dichotomy because I love what I do, but it's like I'm not a guy that's always out there promoting whatever project I have.
There's a team for that.
Yeah, but it's actually, if you think about it business-wise, that's a flaw. You know, it is a flaw in me, and it's probably prevented me from being a little farther along in my career.
Okay.
And if I had it to do it over again, if I could, I would push myself to be more active in the promotion of things I'm doing. You know what I mean? I would probably have a what are they called? I don't even know what they're called. Somebody that promotes you. What are they called?
Marketing team?
Yeah, whatever they're called. But I would have had that a long time ago. I do have someone that I work with from time to time when things are needed, but that's probably like 3 years old. So in the first 30 years of my life, I never had my own publicist. That's what it is. I never had my own publicist. I don't have managers. I just have a single agent who I love, who works hard for me. But I don't have this massive team behind me, you know, and there is, you know, like I said, there is a lot to be said for having that if you want to, you know, go higher and higher and farther and farther or further and further in your career. I just, you know, and now at my age, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not really interested in changing. You know, I'm comfortable. I'm happy where I am, and I'm glad I'm still working, and I hope people still, you know, want to hire me.
I mean, I don't see why not. Yeah, you've been keeping up their endurance, mentally, physically. What about spiritually? Are you spiritually fit?
Nah, I mean, I think for the most part, I'm pretty healthy spiritually. You know, I mean, I've been with my wife for 20 years, and you know, we've been through some stuff, but I'm in love with my wife.
You just celebrated an anniversary, right?
Yeah, we just celebrated an anniversary, but I'm like in love with my wife, and I'm happy, and I don't need any other woman in my life in terms of that. And I feel great, man. I have a really strong marriage, and you know, we do our best. Obviously, we have our problems, and you know, we have our problems with our kids, and you know, there's a lot of things. Like, I'm often talking to my wife about how I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that, or I wish I did this better and I wish I did that better. And you know, and sometimes I actually do stuff to make it better. But the truth is,
I don't. A relationship or work?
No, with my kids.
I see.
Relationships with my kids, and how I can be a better father. You know, because God knows I've made tons of mistakes over the years as a father. But I always think that's that's more important than anything else, because when I'm dead, they're going to be here, and hopefully
legacy.
You know, hopefully, yeah. I mean, it's not a question of, for me, like, oh, I'm going to leave them millions and millions of dollars, but what kind of people are they going to be, and are they going to be able to produce for themselves, you know, whatever it is, you know, or do they have the drive? Do they have the skills? You know, have I helped them with the skills they need? And I'm not really sure what skills I have. You know, I mean, I'm fortunate that I found my thing in my late teens, my very late teens. I don't know why that happened. You know, it just happened. So I'm fortunate. A lot of people that doesn't happen to, particularly that young, you know. So it's tough when you want your kids to find their thing, and sometimes they don't, you know, and you just like, oh, is that a failure on my part, or, you know,
parents can only do so much, and then kids have to become adults.
It's true, but you know, you feel, or at least I feel, that you know, who should have more influence over kids? It should be their parents, right? Unfortunately, we live in a world where there's so much going on. I mean, it's
social
just
media.
it's crazy. But
media.
it's and all the stuff going on in schools and this and that. But I think that it's still an excuse if I don't make myself me and my wife, obviously, the primary person responsible for helping them become responsible, productive, people in society.
I think that foundation is important. Even if they go, leave the house and make the wrong choices, they'll go back. They'll remember the foundation.
Hope so. Let's hope so.
So, Michael, it's been a pleasure.
My man, my pleasure.
Thank
bro.
you so much for coming in today, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Beach, you know who he is. You know where to find his work. And till next time, Max out.
Later, bro.